Hey everybody, this is Mr. Moppa coming at you with another APUSH video. This is our second video focusing in on topic 6.10, the development of the middle class. Last time we were here, we were talking about how urban areas were starting to become more and more popular in America. And note, there are going to be a tremendous amount of challenges that are going to be emerging with regards to these growing urban areas. Problems such as crime, such as problems dealing with unsanitary conditions, problems in terms of proper land usage, et cetera, et cetera. And as we go through the Gilded Age, there's going to be attempts to begin to try to reform some of these problems. Now, granted, some of this is going to be overlapping with what is going to be called the progressive movement as we get into the beginning of the 20th century. But nonetheless, urban areas are going to begin to change through the work of, well, middle-class progressives. One of those examples would be the implementation of water treatment facilities. This is going to make sure that the drinking water that folks consume is going to be clean and relatively healthy. Prior to this, many urban areas suffered from cholera due to people consuming unhealthy, nasty, dirty drinking water. We also see the emergence of regular, as we see today, weekly garbage pickup. This is going to obviously make the streets of cities, cleaner, more hygienic, et cetera, et cetera. To address issues with crime, we're going to see the emergence of the first real professional police departments. So that is going to be significant. We also see the creation of the first professional fire departments during this time period. So you're going to be seeing a much greater expansion of government bureaucracy to try to provide for basic needs: fire protection, police protection, health, hygienic conditions, etc. We're also going to be seeing the emergence of zoning laws. Now, a zoning law zoning laws deal with the organized usage of land in a particular area. And generally what zoning laws do is organize these pieces of land into various areas, or what you call zones. Some of these zones are residential zones where people live, like houses, apartments, etc. You've also got what you call commercial zones. This is where you're going to be seeing, businesses existing, stores, if you will. Then you also have industrial zones, which is where you're going to be seeing, for example, factories taking place. And the reason why you want to have zoning laws is that typically people don't want to live right next to a steel mill if they can help it. Particularly if you've built your home first and then they build the steel mill right after that. That's probably going to lead to a major drop in the value of your home. So zoning laws are going to start to become created that create what you would call business districts on main thoroughfares, residential areas that are off those business districts, and industrial zones which are kind of further out as well. We also see, as an attempt to try to promote health and in a sense of connecting back with nature, the emergence of public parks in America's big cities. One of the things that quickly was overlooked when these cities began to grow, and in some cases just grow exponentially in the 1800s, is that the green space is going to go away. The trees are going to be gone. The grass is going to be gone. Everything's going to be paved over. It's going to be a concrete jungle, if you will. And so you're going to be seeing this movement to try to reconnect with nature in an urban area as best that you can. And so you're going to be seeing public parks spring up across America. And of course, the most well-known is going to be Central Park in New York City. This is a modern picture of Central Park. But as you can imagine, it's a pretty breathtaking scene. For those of you not very familiar with New York City, Manhattan is the center of the city. And it's an island. It's about 8 miles long and about almost 2 miles wide, and it's considered to be probably the most valuable territory in terms of land value in the United States. Today, for example, over 2 million people live just on that island alone. But the folks that are going to be designing Manhattan in this time period, as it's just what started on the very southern tip of the island and is now rapidly moving northward. These folks in the late 1800s had the foresight to think, you know what, we don't want this to just be an island of skyscrapers. We don't want this to be like, for those of you that are Star Wars fanatics like me, we don't want this to be like the planet of Coruscant, you know what I mean, where it's just totally urban and skyscrapers entirely. So they decide to take what is going to be an unbelievably prime piece of real estate and devote it to being a mammoth park right in the heart of the city. In many respects, giving that city lungs, clean air, to exist. And it's considered nothing less of a godsend to those that live in Manhattan, a place where you can get away from, urban life for a bit of time to, be, covered in the shade of trees, not skyscrapers, to go running on a path, to play, baseball, to, even go for a small hike to some degree. Pretty amazing, for sure. Now, note, when we do talk about other changes that are going to be happening as part of this emerging middle-class Gilded Age society, public education is going to be playing a critical role. Public education, of course, in our history dates all the way back to colonial times, when you had New England communities that would set aside tax dollars for the construction of a school and for the hiring of a teacher. And it will slowly expand from that over time, but emphasis on slowly. By the time we get to the Civil War, northern states had, some degree of a functioning public school system. The South not as well developed, but by the time we get to the Gilded Age, you're going to be seeing public education expand everywhere in America, and not just in terms of the opportunity to go to school, but with a growing realization of the importance of an education to have the ability to climb the socioeconomic ladder, to overcome poverty, etc. You're going to start seeing the beginning of what we call compulsory education laws for children. In other words, meaning that you have to go to school. Compulsory means compelled, you have to do it. Now note, in these times, a lot of these compulsory education laws in communities were up till about 4th grade, something along those lines, just so you had very, very, very basic reading, writing, literacy skills, stuff like that. But it certainly laid the groundwork for what it is today. Most states require students to be in school to at least age 16, in some places 18. So that's only going to be laying a foundation for that. We also see more of a focus on the importance of education in terms of preparing for school, with the emergence of what we call kindergartens. This is going to be a German import, but the idea, in essence, a school to prepare you for school. In other words, a place to learn some basic skills to get you ready for 1st grade. And of course, today, kindergarten is, pretty much essential today. If you don't go to kindergarten, your chances of graduating high school are far more reduced. And speaking of high school, these are going to start to pop up across America as well. The idea being that you need what they call a secondary school beyond what was the traditional primary school, which would get you through maybe 6th grade, maybe 8th grade, something along those lines. But the idea of now having a secondary school to teach higher level learning, advanced English, advanced math, science, history, social studies, things like that, that's now going to start to become commonplace. And you're going to start to see a growing number of Americans not just completing primary school and having just basic literacy, but graduating high school as well. And we're also seeing expansion of higher education beyond high schools. We are seeing more and more young people, and no, these are people with means, not working class people, but people with means, going to college, going to universities more and more, trying to get an education to have these growing white-collar jobs. So you're starting to see more of this connection between, hey, if I can go to college, I can pretty much guarantee myself at least a middle-class life. Regardless of what degree I get in, or what degree I get, I'll be able to get some sort of a white-collar job that's decently paying, it's going to be relatively stable, and so I don't have to, work on a farm or slave away in a factory or something along those lines. As we mentioned previously in class, the Morrill Act is going to be helpful with that. The federal government is going to be passing legislation to help provide states with funding to create state universities. And many universities are going to be popping up, particularly across the Midwest and parts of the South through this, including the Ohio State University. But note, it's not going to be just the government that's going to be playing a role in expanding educational opportunities at the collegiate level. You're going to see a number of wealthy industrialists assist with that as well. You might recall previously, the impact of Andrew Carnegie via his Gospel of Wealth and him creating, what is today Carnegie Mellon University. But he's not going to be alone. You've got wealthy industrialists, creating Vanderbilt University in Nashville. You got Duke University in Durham. You got Stanford University in the Bay Area. The University of Chicago, though it doesn't bear his name, is going to be started by John D. Rockefeller. So that's going to be playing a critical role. And notes, with regards to college admissions, it's not just the number of people total that is going to be seeing an increase in going to college, but also for minorities. You are going to be seeing that most universities, by the time you get to the 20th century, will admit women, though women will be a clear minority of the student population. You're now going to be seeing a growth in colleges for African Americans. Now granted, most of these universities are going to be segregated by race. In other words, these are universities that are going to have to be created mostly due to the fact that white universities, particularly in the South, are not going to be admitting students of color. But, something like the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama is going to be providing an opportunity that African American students would not have otherwise. But bottom line, you can see these numbers are going up. It's pretty noticeable. As you can see here, in the 50-year span from 1870 to 1920, you're going to be seeing a 1,200% increase in the number of students going to college. Now, don't take that to mean that the average American is going to college. We're not even remotely close to that. But from what had been an unbelievably small minority of the American population is now growing that's going to be able to get a college education. And note, with that, a lot of what you would call your liberal arts degrees are going to be popular. Degrees in the emerging fields of psychology, sociology, anthropology. So sociology, the study of societies, anthropology, the study of cultures, and political science. These are starting to become more and more popular as well. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.